About 6,000 years ago in southern Mesopotamia, roughly 20 city-states emerged between two unpredictable rivers, facing floods, scorching heat reaching 120 degrees Kelvin, and constant warfare. Life was brutal and unforgiving, but for these determined Sumerians, survival somehow continued in the shadow of heat, thirst, and enemies at the gates. Here's what life was really like in ancient Sumer. Hey, quick thing before we start. If you actually listen to these regularly, hit like or subscribe. I always wonder where everyone's at, so comment your city and what time it is. Weird to think some of you are having breakfast in London while I'm recording this at night here in the States. Alright, let's head back to around 3000 BC. Trust me, it's going to be quite a ride. But first, get comfortable. Seriously, adjust those pillows, pull up that blanket, because where we're going, you're going to want to be cozy, your eyes open. It's still dark. Mostly. There's a thin line of grey light seeping through the gaps in the reed walls. Dawn's coming. Not that you need to see it to know. The heat's already building. Even at this hour, the air feels thick, heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. You're lying on a mat woven from reeds. Just reeds. That's it. No mattress, no padding, just dried plants arranged in a grid pattern that's left their imprint on your back. Every ridge, every knot, you can trace the pattern with your fingers without looking. You've been feeling it pressed into your skin for hours. The mat sits directly on the packed earth floor of your mud brick house. The floor's cool, or it was when you first lay down. By now your body heat's warmed the spot beneath you. In a few hours, when the sun's really up, this same floor will bake. The whole house will turn into an oven. Temperatures outside will climb past 110, sometimes 120, sometimes higher. But right now, in this brief window before dawn, it's almost bearable. Almost. Your throat's dry, really dry. That scratchy, sticky feeling where your tongue wants to peel away from the roof of your mouth. When did you last drink? Yesterday afternoon? The water ration from the communal well? Yeah, that was it. Water's complicated in Sumer. You're surrounded by it. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers are right there, but you can't just drink from them, not directly. The water needs to be carried, stored, sometimes boiled. The priests say the gods live in the water. The reality is simpler and grosser. Animals drink from those rivers. People wash in them. Bodies sometimes float downstream from the cities upriver. So you ration, you wait. You drink when the water's been properly collected and settled. Your stomach's doing that thing where it's not quite empty, but definitely not full either. Call it a 3 out of 10 on the hunger scale. Manageable. Normal even. Yesterday you had barley porridge for breakfast. Basically barley grains boiled in water until they turned into mush. For the midday meal, a flatbread. One. And onions. Lots of onions. Dinner was more barley, this time as a cake, with some beans mashed into it. Onions feature heavily in the Sumerian diet, like really heavily. If the smell doesn't hit you first thing in the morning, you're either sick or you've gone nose blind to it, which, let's be honest, you probably have. After a few years of onions with every meal, your nose just gives up trying to register it. Outside, you can hear the city waking up. Footsteps, voices, the scrape of tools against stone. Someone's already at the communal oven, baking the first batch of bread. You can smell it, that warm, yeasty scent cutting through the onion smell. It makes your stomach clench. Welcome to the land between two rivers. Welcome to Sumer, the world's first civilization. And yeah, you probably don't want to be here. Look, I know I said get comfortable in your bed, right? Well, that's because where you are right now, in this ancient Sumerian house, comfortable is not in the vocabulary. The Sumerian word for mattress doesn't exist. They've got words for reed mat, for leather sheet, for wool blanket, if you're rich. But mattress, the fluffy, cushioned thing you're lying on right now while listening to this? Nope. Not a thing. Your house is basically a box made of mud bricks, dried mud to be specific. The walls are about a foot thick, which helps with the heat during the day and the surprising cold at night. The roof? More mud brick, supported by wooden beams if you're lucky enough to have timber, or just more packed mud if you're not. There's a central courtyard. That's the heart of the house. It's open to the sky, which means light and air can come in, but it also means dust, heat, and during the brief rainy season, water. Everything in the house is built around that courtyard. Your sleeping room, the storage room, the kitchen area, they all open onto it. Most of the walls don't have windows, not real ones. Maybe some small openings near the ceiling to let hot air escape, but nothing you'd recognise as a window. Windows are a liability. They let in heat, dust, and more importantly, they let in people you don't want in your house. Thieves, animals, the occasional very determined rat. So it's dark in here. Even with dawn coming, it's dark. You sit up. Slowly, your back makes a series of small popping sounds as your spine realigns itself after a night on the reed mat. There's a specific ache between your shoulder blades that never really goes away. It's just there, part of life. Everyone has it. Even the rich people sleeping on their wooden bed frames with woven reed platforms and woolen padding have some version of it, though they'd never admit it. The air smells like dust and smoke and, yes, onions. There's also the underlying scent of the mud bricks themselves, that earthy clay smell that permeates everything. It's in your hair, your clothes, your skin. You could wash every day and it would still be there. Not that you wash every day. Water's too precious for that. In the corner, there's a clay jar. Water, your emergency supply. You're supposed to use it sparingly, but right now, with your throat feeling like sun-baked clay itself, sparingly seems negotiable. You reach for it. The clay is cool against your palms. You lift it, tilt it, and let a small amount of water pour into your mouth. Not enough to satisfy, just enough to coat your throat, to give your mouth something to work with. The water tastes like the jar, like minerals and clay and faintly metallic, better than nothing, way better than nothing. You set the jar down and stand. Your joints protest. Your feet find the packed earth floor still cool, and you take a moment to just exist, to breathe, to prepare yourself for what's coming. Because here's the thing about being a Sumerian in 3000 BC. Every single day is about survival. Not dramatic, movie-style survival with dinosaurs and explosions, just the grinding, relentless work of staying alive, finding water, finding food, avoiding disease, avoiding injury, avoiding the wrath of gods who seem perpetually angry about something. And today, like every day, starts with work. The sun's not even up yet, and you've got to get moving, because in Sumer, if you're not working, you're not eating, and if you're not eating, well, let's not think about that. You pull on your clothes. If you're a man, it's a knee-length skirt made from wool or linen. If you're a woman, it's a longer dress, also wool or linen. Both are basically rectangles of fabric wrapped around your body and held in place with a belt or pin. No zippers, no buttons, just cloth and determination. The fabric's scratchy, rough. It's been washed in the river and beaten against rocks and dried in the sun so many times that it's more texture than textile, but it's what you have. It keeps the sun off your skin during the day and provides a thin layer of warmth during the surprisingly cold nights. You step out into the courtyard. The sky's lighter now, that pre-dawn grey that's not quite day but definitely not night anymore. The stars are fading. Above you the sky's huge, endless, without any light pollution, without any buildings taller than 2 stories. The sky in ancient Sumer is vast in a way that's hard to describe. It's like someone removed the ceiling of the world. Other people are emerging from their sleeping rooms. Your family, if you have one. Maybe your parents, your siblings, your spouse, your kids. Sumerian households are multi-generational. Everyone lives together. Everyone works together. Privacy is a concept that won't be invented for another few thousand years. Someone's already started a fire in the courtyard's cooking area. Smoke rises in a thin column. The fire's small. Fuel is precious, but it's enough to heat water for barley porridge. Again, because that's breakfast. That's always breakfast. Unless you're wealthy. Then you might have honey to sweeten it, maybe dates, maybe cheese. But wealth is relative in Sumer. Even the wealthy eat barley. They just eat it with more stuff mixed in. You head toward the fire, but before you get there, you hear it. The sound that dominates Sumerian life. The gong. It's coming from the center of the city, from the area near the Ziggurat, that massive stepped pyramid that you can see from anywhere in the city. The temple tower, the house of the gods. The gong is the signal, the call to work. And in Sumer, work means the irrigation canals. Oh boy. Let me explain something about Sumerian cities. They exist because of one thing: water management. That's it. That's the whole civilization in a nutshell. Take away the canals, the dikes, the reservoirs, and Sumer disappears. The cities crumble. Everyone dies or moves away. It's that simple. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers flood every year. Unlike the Nile in Egypt, which floods predictably and gently, these rivers flood violently and randomly. One year, no flood. The next year, massive flooding that destroys everything. The rivers also change course sometimes, just deciding to flow in a completely different direction and leaving former cities stranded in the desert. So Sumerians built canals, lots of them, a network of waterways that crisscross the landscape, bringing water from the rivers to the fields, to the city, to the storage reservoirs. It's an engineering marvel. It's also a maintenance nightmare. Every single day, people need to work on the canals, clearing silt, reinforcing banks, checking for leaks, building new sections. It's back-breaking, relentless labour that never, ever ends. If you slack off, if you take a day off, the system starts to fail. And if the system fails, everyone dies. Not theoretically, actually dies. No water means no crops. No crops means no food. No food means starvation. So when the gong sounds, you go. You grab a tool, maybe a wooden shovel, maybe a basket for carrying dirt, maybe a hoe for breaking up dried mud, and you head toward the city gates. Other people are doing the same. Hundreds of people, maybe thousands, depending on the size of your city. The streets of Sumer are narrow, maybe 6 feet wide. They're not paved, they're just packed earth, dusty in the dry season, muddy in the brief wet season. The houses press in on both sides, their mud brick walls creating a maze of passages that all eventually lead to the main thoroughfares. You pass a shrine. There's one on almost every corner, just a small alcove in a wall with a clay figurine of a god or goddess. Someone's already left an offering there, a piece of bread, a small cup of beer. The gods are always hungry, always thirsty. They need to be fed constantly or they get angry. And when gods get angry, bad things happen. Disease, floods, drought, war, all of it is because the gods are displeased. So you make offerings, you pray, you perform rituals, you do everything the priests tell you to do, and sometimes it works. Sometimes the gods are appeased and life continues. Sometimes it doesn't work and people die. That's just how it is. You reach the city gate. It's massive. Thick wooden doors reinforced with bronze bands. They're open now, letting workers stream out toward the fields and canals. Guards stand on either side, armed with spears and copper axes. They're there to protect the city from raiders, from rival cities, from anyone who might want to steal Sumer's most valuable resources: grain, livestock, and people. Slavery exists in Sumer. It's common. When one city conquers another, the losers become slaves. They're brought back to work the fields, build the buildings, serve in the households of the wealthy. It's brutal. It's also just how things are done. You pass through the gate. The landscape beyond the city walls is a grid of irrigation canals and fields, green crops, barley, wheat, flax growing in neat rows, date palms providing shade and fruit, vegetable gardens full of onions, garlic, leeks, cucumbers, lettuce, all of it made possible by water drawn from the rivers through the canal system. And there they are. The canals, wide channels cut through the earth, some filled with flowing water, others partially dry and needing maintenance. This is where you'll spend your morning. This is where everyone spends their mornings. The overseer is already there, the guy in charge of organising the work crews. He's shouting instructions, pointing at different sections of canal, assigning people to different tasks. He reports to the Ensi, the political and religious leader of the city. The Ensi reports to the gods. Everyone reports to someone. That's the hierarchy. That's civilization. You're assigned to a crew working on a section of canal that's been filling up with silt. The water's flowing, but slowly, too slowly. If it gets any slower, the fields beyond won't get enough water. The crops will suffer. People will go hungry, so you dig. The sun's up now, fully up. The heat's building fast. Within an hour, it's already uncomfortable. Within 2 hours, it's genuinely brutal. The sun beats down on your back, on your head, on every exposed bit of skin. You're sweating. Everyone's sweating. The air shimmers with heat. You scoop silt from the canal bottom, load it into a basket, carry it to the embankment, dump it, return for more. Scoop, load, carry, dump, return. Again and again. The silt's heavy, wet. It clings to your shovel, your hands, your feet. Your back aches, your shoulders scream. Your hands develop blisters on top of the calluses you already have. This is life in Sumer. This is civilization. The world's first cities, built on the backs of thousands of people doing this exact same work, day after day, year after year, generation after generation. Around you, other people are doing the same thing. Men, women, even older children. Everyone works, everyone contributes. There's no concept of retirement or weekends or vacation time. You work until you physically can't anymore, and then you either have family to take care of you or you die. Fun times. The overseer walks along the embankment, watching, making sure everyone's working at the right pace, making sure no one's slacking. Sometimes he shouts encouragement, sometimes he shouts threats. The line between motivation and intimidation is thin in Sumer. Someone starts singing. A work song. It's rhythmic, meant to keep everyone moving in sync, meant to make the work slightly less unbearable. Others join in. The melody's simple, repetitive. The lyrics are about the gods, about water, about the harvest, about hoping this year is better than last year. Hoping is big in Sumer. You keep digging, the sun keeps climbing, the heat keeps building, your water ration ran out an hour ago, your throat's dry again, your lips are cracking, the sweat's evaporating as fast as your body produces it, leaving salt crystals on your skin. Not like your comfy bed right now, right? Not like your climate-controlled room with the glass of water on your nightstand. Not like your full stomach and your soft pillow and your complete lack of need to dig a canal before breakfast. You're welcome for the perspective. By the time the morning work shift ends, signalled by another gong from the city, you've moved several tons of silt. Your entire body hurts. You're dehydrated, exhausted, and covered head to toe in mud, but the canal's flowing better. The water's reaching the fields. The crops will survive another day, and so will you. You trudge back to the city with the rest of the workers. The sun's at its peak now. The heat's peaked too. It's easily over 110 degrees, maybe 115, maybe 120. In this climate, in this time before weather stations and thermometers, you measure heat by how it feels. And right now, It feels like walking into an oven. The city walls loom ahead. Even in their shadow, it's hot. The mud bricks absorb heat during the day and radiate it back out. The whole city bakes. The streets shimmer with heat waves. Dogs lie in whatever shade they can find, panting. Even the rats move slowly. You make your way through the maze of streets back to your house. The smell of cooking fires mingles with the ever-present scent of onions, smoke, and humanity. Thousands of people living in close proximity. No sewage system beyond what you carry out to dump in designated areas. No running water beyond what you carry in. No garbage collection beyond what you handle yourself. The smells are intense, genuinely intense. If someone from the modern world were dropped into ancient Sumer, the smell would probably be the first thing that hit them. Not the heat, not the sight of the ziggurat, but the smell. Human waste, animal waste, rotting food, smoke, sweat, and, yes, onions. Lots and lots of onions. You reach your house. The courtyard feels like an oven. The air's thick and still. You head to the storage area where the communal water jug is kept. There's a ladle. You're allowed one ladle of water. You take it. It's warm from sitting in the heat, but it's wet. That's all that matters. The water hits your stomach and your body just absorbs it. Gone in seconds. You want more. You're allowed more. You take another ladle. This time you force yourself to drink it slowly, to let it actually satisfy your thirst rather than just disappearing into the void of dehydration. Someone's preparing the midday meal. More barley, this time as flatbread. The dough's been mixed with water and salt, maybe a bit of fat if there's any available, and then slapped onto the side of the hot clay oven to bake. It comes out crispy and slightly charred. You eat it with onions, obviously. There's also beer. Yes, beer. The Sumerians invented beer. It's not like modern beer, no hops, so it's sweet rather than bitter, thick, almost porridge-like because they don't filter it. You drink it through a straw from a large ceramic jar to avoid the chunks. It's nutritious, filling and mildly alcoholic. It's also safer than water because the brewing process kills bacteria. So yeah, beer for lunch, beer for dinner. Beer most of the time. The goddess Ninkasi, whose name literally means lady who fills the mouth, is one of the more popular deities. She's the goddess of beer and brewing. People pray to her regularly, make offerings to her. Beer is serious business in Sumer. You sit in the shade of the courtyard, eat your bread, drink your beer through a reed straw, and try to cool down. It's not really working. The shade helps a bit, but the air's still oven hot. Your clothes are soaked with sweat, your skin's sticky with salt and dust. This is the midday rest period. Work in the canals has stopped because it's simply too hot. The wealthy retreat to the inner rooms of their larger houses. The priests perform their rituals inside the cool stone of the ziggurat. Everyone else just tries to survive the heat. Some people sleep. Others do light work, repairing tools, weaving baskets, mending clothes. Children play quiet games in the shade. Life slows down, waiting for the worst of the heat to pass. You lean back against the mud brick wall of your house, the bricks hot against your back, but somehow being still, being in shade, being fed and hydrated, relatively speaking, makes it bearable. Your eyes close, the sounds of the city fade into background noise. For a moment, just a moment, you're not thinking about survival, about canals, about gods, about tomorrow's work. You're just existing, and honestly, in ancient Sumer, that's about as good as it gets. The rest period ends when the heat drops from hell on earth to merely oppressive. You get up, time for afternoon work, different from the morning canal labour, but work nonetheless, because again, if you're not working, you're not eating. That's just math. Today, you're assigned to the temple complex. Yeah, the ziggurat. that massive stepped pyramid dominating the city skyline. You can see it from literally anywhere. It's designed that way. The whole point is to be impossible to miss. Let me paint you a picture of what this thing looks like. Imagine a wedding cake. Now make it huge, like football field huge at the base. Stack smaller and smaller platforms on top of each other, maybe 5 or 6 levels total. Cover the whole thing in mud brick. Paint some levels white, some black, some red. Put a temple at the very top, painted blue to look like the sky. Add stairs running up the sides. Now place it in the dead centre of the city so everyone has to look at it every single day. That's a ziggurat. The one in your city rises about 150 feet into the air. The base covers maybe 3 acres. It took decades to build, thousands of workers, millions of mud bricks. It's basically a mountain that humans decided to just make, because the gods lived on mountains far away. And if you can't go to the mountain, you build your own mountain and hope the gods appreciate the effort. Spoiler alert, the gods always need more convincing. You approach the base of the ziggurat. There's a huge courtyard surrounding it, easily the size of 10 modern city blocks. This is where city life happens. Markets, gatherings, public announcements, religious festivals, executions, normal civic stuff. Right now, the courtyard's busy. There's an artist painting a mural on one of the temple's outer walls. A kid races past, probably late for school. Yes, school. The Sumerians invented formal education. Lucky them. A woman's milking a goat near one of the smaller shrines. Someone's weaving a basket from reeds. Life continues in the shadow of the god's house. But here's where it gets interesting. The ziggurat isn't just a religious building, it's the centre of everything. Economics, politics, law, healthcare, education. The priests who run the temple complex basically run the entire city. They control the grain stores, they organise the irrigation work, they settle disputes, they diagnose illnesses, they keep records of everything, and I mean everything. The Sumerians are obsessed with writing stuff down. They invented writing specifically to keep track of temple accounts. Who donated what grain? Who owes temple taxes? Who got how much beer ration? It's all recorded on clay tablets in cuneiform script. Thousands and thousands of tablets. Some of these ancient accountants were tracking every single sheep, every bag of barley, every jar of oil. It's basically ancient middle management, but with more gods and fewer staplers. The priests are everywhere in the courtyard. You can spot them by their clothes, fancier than yours, cleaner, definitely cleaner, made from better fabric. They wear these distinctive fringed garments, kind of like shawls. Some have their heads shaved, some have elaborate hairstyles. All of them have this air of authority because they speak for the gods. And the gods? They're not exactly chill. Okay, let's talk about the Sumerian pantheon. Strap in, because this is wild. The Sumerians have over 3,000 gods and goddesses. 3,000. There are gods for everything. God of the sky, god of water, god of air, goddess of love, goddess of war. Sometimes these are the same goddess because apparently love and war go together. God of beer, goddess of grain, god of that specific canal over there, goddess of this particular tree. It's excessive. The big ones, the major league gods, are An, Enlil, Enki, and Inanna. An is the sky god. Top of the hierarchy, though he doesn't do much these days. Think of him as the retired CEO who still has his name on the building. Enlil is the real power, god of air and storms. He's based in Nippur, which is like the religious capital of Sumer. When Enlil gets angry, bad things happen. Floods, droughts, locusts, your crops dying, your city getting destroyed, fun guy at parties. Enki is the water god. He's actually pretty cool, relatively speaking, god of wisdom and magic. He's the one who warned that one guy about the Great Flood and told him to build a boat. Sound familiar? Yeah, that story predates the Noah version by about 1,000 years. The Sumerians did it first. Inanna is the goddess of love, sex, fertility, and war, because nothing says romance like a good battle. She's based in Uruk and is basically the most dramatic deity in the pantheon. The myths about her are wild. She goes to the underworld, gets killed, comes back to life, sends her husband to hell as a substitute. It's a whole thing. Then there are the lesser gods. Hundreds of them. Each city has its own patron deity. Each household has its own protective spirits. You're supposed to pray to all of them, make offerings to all of them, keep all of them happy all of the time, which is, let's be honest, exhausting and impossible. But you try anyway, because the alternative is divine punishment, and that's not theoretical. When bad things happen, and bad things happen constantly, it's because you or someone in your city angered a god. Drought, you didn't sacrifice enough sheep. Flood, someone committed a sin, and the gods are collectively punishing everyone. Disease, the gods sent demons to afflict you. Everything is the gods' fault. Or rather, everything is your fault for not pleasing the gods properly. It's a system that keeps the priests very, very powerful. You reach your assigned work area near the base of the ziggurat. Your job today is helping to transport offerings from the courtyard up to the temple at the top. People bring offerings all day, every day. Food, drink, woven cloth, tools, sometimes animals. All of it goes to the gods, which really means it goes to the priests, who consume it on behalf of the gods because, the gods can't actually eat solid food. Convenient. The stairs up the ziggurat are steep, really steep. Each platform has its own staircase connecting to the next level. You're carrying a large basket of bread. Someone behind you is carrying a jar of beer. Someone else has a live chicken, which is not happy about being carried up a giant pyramid in a 110-degree heat. Can't say I blame the chicken. Each level of the ziggurat serves a different function. The lower levels have storage rooms, administrative offices, and smaller shrines. The middle levels have priests' quarters and ritual preparation areas. The top level, the one you're climbing toward, has the main temple. Only the high priest or priestess gets to go into that top temple. Everyone else stops at the platform just below. That's where you'll leave the offerings, where the priests will collect them, perform the necessary rituals, and then take them inside to feed the gods. You reach the top platform. The view is stunning. From up here you can see the entire city spread out below, the grid of streets, the houses packed together, the city walls forming a protective circle. Beyond the walls, the green fields and the network of irrigation canals cutting through the brown landscape. Beyond that, the rivers winding their way south toward the Persian Gulf. You can also see other cities in the distance, just smudges on the horizon, but they're there. Other Sumerian city-states, Kish to the north, Uruk to the south, Lagash to the east, all of them built on the same model. Ziggurat in the centre, city around it, farmland beyond, canals everywhere, all of them competing for the same resources, the same water, the same land, the same trade routes, all of them sometimes at war with each other, but we'll get to that later. You set down the basket of bread in the designated area and head back down, up and down, up and down. Each trip you're carrying something different. Dates, figs, barley grain, oil, wine, if someone wealthy donated it. The temple accumulates massive quantities of stuff. They have to. They employ hundreds of people. Priests, administrators, scribes, craftsmen, servants, guards. All of them need to be fed. The temple is essentially a corporation, a very powerful, very wealthy corporation that also happens to commune with divine entities. On one of your trips down, you pass a group of student scribes sitting in the shade of the second platform. They're practicing their cuneiform on clay tablets. A teacher walks among them, correcting their work, occasionally smacking someone on the back of the head when they mess up. Sumerian education is not gentle. These kids, all boys from elite families, spend years learning to read and write. They memorize thousands of cuneiform signs. They practice writing on cheap clay tablets that can be smoothed over and reused. They learn mathematics, astronomy, religious texts, legal codes. It's brutal. There's this ancient text, basically a student's complaint letter, where he lists all the times he got beaten in a single day, for being late, for talking in class, for getting his writing wrong, for his handwriting being messy. The kid then asks his father to invite the headmaster over for dinner, gives the teacher gifts, and suddenly his writing is praised, and he's told he'll be a great scribe one day. First recorded case of apple polishing in human history. The teacher's walking past and he glances at you. Not in a friendly way, more like the way you'd glance at a piece of furniture. You're not in his social class, you're labour, he's educated elite. The distance between you and him is enormous. Sumer has a clear social hierarchy. At the top, the Ensi and his family. The Ensi is the political and religious leader. His name literally means the one who divides the temple land, because all land belongs to the gods and the Ensi manages it on their behalf. Just below the Ensi are the priests. They're the educated class. They can read and write. They understand astronomy and mathematics. They know the rituals. They interpret omens. They're also the doctors, by the way. When you get sick, you go to a priest. He'll diagnose you by examining your symptoms, maybe by reading signs from animal entrails, and then prescribe either herbal remedies or magical incantations, or both, usually both. Below the priests are the merchants and craftsmen, people with specialised skills, potters, metalworkers, weavers, jewellers. They're not wealthy, but they're comfortable. They own their workshops. They can afford decent houses. Then there are the farmers and labourers. That's you. That's most people. You work the land, maintain the canals, build the buildings, do the physical labour that keeps the city running. You get paid in rations, beer, bread, barley, sometimes dates or fish, just enough to survive. At the bottom are the slaves, people captured in war, criminals, or people who sold themselves into slavery to pay off debts. They have no rights. They're property. They work the worst jobs for no pay beyond basic food and shelter. And everyone, every single person in this hierarchy is terrified of the gods. You finish your transport work as the afternoon starts cooling. Well, cooling. It's still over 100 degrees, but at least it's not 120. Progress. The evening prayer ceremony is starting. A gong sounds from the top of the ziggurat. People start gathering in the courtyard. This happens every evening. A public ritual where the high priest offers the day's final sacrifices to the gods, prays for the city's prosperity, and updates everyone on any important news. You join the crowd, hundreds of people pressing into the courtyard. The air smells like humanity, sweat and smoke and onions, always the onions. The high priest appears on the top platform of the ziggurat. He's wearing his ceremonial robes, elaborate things with gold thread and precious stones. He raises his arms, the crowd quiets. He chants something in what might be an older form of Sumerian. You don't understand all the words, but you get the general idea. He's asking Enlil to bless the city, to provide water for the crops, to protect against enemies, to keep disease away, to make the harvest good, the usual requests. He sacrifices a lamb. Someone hands it to him. He performs the ritual, and the lamb becomes an offering to the gods. Its meat will be consumed by the priests, who will eat it on behalf of the gods, because that's how offerings work. Then he makes an announcement. The NC has declared that a new section of canal needs to be built. Work will begin next week. All able-bodied citizens will be required to participate. There will be extra beer rations. The crowd accepts this news with the enthusiasm of people who have no choice. More canal work. Great. But hey, extra beer. So there's that. The ceremony ends. People disperse. You head back toward your house through the maze of streets. The sun's setting now, painting the sky orange and red. The temperature's dropping fast. In a few hours, it'll actually be cold. Desert climates are like that. Extreme heat during the day, surprising cold at night. You pass a shrine to Inanna. Someone's left fresh flowers and a cup of beer. The flowers are already wilting in the heat. The beer's probably warm, but it's the thought that counts. The gods appreciate offerings, even sad ones, maybe especially sad ones, shows you're really trying. Near your house, there's a commotion. A small crowd has gathered. You push closer to see what's happening. There's a man on the ground, clearly injured. His leg is bent at a bad angle, broken probably. Someone's already sent for a priest doctor. This is bad, really bad. A broken leg in ancient Sumer is potentially a death sentence. If it heals wrong, you can't work. If you can't work, you can't eat. If infection sets in, which it often does, you die. The priest doctor arrives. He's carrying a bag of supplies. He examines the leg, makes some pronouncements about which god is responsible for the injury and why, then starts setting the bone. No anesthesia, no painkillers beyond maybe some beer. The man screams. Several people have to hold him down. The priest splints the leg with wooden sticks and cloth strips. He chants an incantation to drive away the demons causing the pain. He applies some kind of paste made from herbs and animal fat. Then he gives instructions to the man's family about care and feeding and prayer. The man might live. He might not. It's in the gods' hands now, which is what the priest says. Everything is always in the gods' hands. You continue home. Your family's preparing dinner. More barley, this time as a thick soup with lentils and onions. There's also fish, fresh fish from the river, grilled over the fire. This is actually pretty good by Sumerian standards. Protein is protein. You eat sitting in the courtyard. The stars are coming out. Without any artificial light, they're brilliant. The Milky Way is visible as a glowing band across the sky. The Sumerians have been studying these stars for generations. They've mapped constellations. They've tracked planetary movements. They've figured out how to predict eclipses. Not because they find it scientifically interesting, though they probably do, but because the stars are gods, or at least controlled by gods, and understanding their movements helps predict the gods' intentions. Everything comes back to the gods. After dinner, you sit and rest. Tomorrow will be another day of canal work, another day of heat and labour and survival. But right now, in this moment, with food in your stomach and your family around you and the cool night air finally providing relief from the day's heat, things are okay. Not good, just okay. And in ancient Sumer, okay is about as good as it gets. Morning comes again. Because of course it does. You're back on canal duty, but today's different. The overseer pulls you aside after a few hours of digging, says they need someone to help the city scribes. They're doing an inventory of grain supplies and need extra hands to move the clay tablets around. You're basically going to be a filing cabinet. But hey, it's indoor work. Anything to get out of the sun. The scribe school is attached to the temple complex naturally. Everything important happens near the ziggurat. You head there through streets that are already baking. It's maybe 2 hours past dawn and the temperature's climbing fast. By noon it'll be unbearable. By mid-afternoon deadly, if you're not careful. Inside the scribe school, it's cooler. Not cool, but cooler. The thick mud brick walls keep some of the heat out. Small windows near the ceiling let in light without letting in too much sun. There's even a slight breeze moving through. The room is full of young men, hunched over clay tablets. Dozens of them, all writing. The sound is distinctive. Reed styluses pressing into wet clay, making little wet popping sounds. Scratch, press, pop. Scratch, press. press, pop, over and over. A teacher walks among them, hands behind his back, watching. He stops behind one student, looks at his work, and smacks him on the shoulder. Not hard, but not gentle either. Your signs are sloppy. Do it again. The kid smooths out his clay tablet with a wet rag and starts over. Welcome to Sumerian education, where mistakes are corrected with physical violence and everyone just accepts this as normal. Let me tell you about cuneiform writing because it's genuinely bonkers. It started simple. About 5,000 years ago, temple officials needed to keep track of stuff. How many sheep in the temple flock? How much grain in storage? Who owed what taxes? So they used small clay tokens. 1 token equals 1 sheep. 10 tokens equals 10 sheep. Easy. Then someone had a brilliant idea. Instead of storing thousands of physical tokens, why not just press the tokens into soft clay to make an impression? Now you've got a permanent record without needing to warehouse all the tokens. From there, it evolved. People started drawing little pictures directly into the clay. A sheep looked like a sheep. Bread looked like bread. A person looked like, well, a stick figure person. That worked fine for simple stuff, but how do you draw go, or love, or angry? You can't just draw an emotion. So the Sumerians got creative. A picture of a foot meant foot, sure. But it could also mean walk, run, stand, go, movement. The same symbol could mean different things depending on context. Then they made the real leap. The symbols started representing sounds instead of just things. In Sumerian, the word ti means both arrow and life, so the symbol for arrow could be used anywhere the sound ti appeared, regardless of what the actual word meant. Boom. Phonetic writing system. This meant you could write anything. Full sentences with grammar, tone, emotion, stories, laws, shopping lists, angry letters to your lazy brother, poetry, medical prescriptions, literally anything that could be spoken could now be written. The script looks like little wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay. That's why we call it cuneiform, from the Latin cunus, meaning wedge. The scribes use a reed stylus, cut at an angle, and press it into wet clay tablets. Here's the thing though, there are about 2,000 different cuneiform signs. 2,000, and that's just a start. Over time it got simplified to only 600 or so commonly used signs, but still, 600 symbols you need to memorize. Each symbol can have multiple meanings depending on context. Some symbols represent things, some represent sounds, some represent both, some represent syllables, some represent whole words. There's no consistent rule, you just have to memorize all of it. Which takes years. These kids started when they were maybe 7 years old. They'll be teenagers before they're competent, adults before they're actually skilled. It's brutal, but it's also your ticket to a better life. Scribes don't dig canals, they don't carry bricks. They sit inside, out of the heat, writing on tablets and managing accounts. They get paid better, they're respected, they're part of the educated elite. So parents who can afford it send their sons to scribe school, pay the tuition, accept the beatings as part of the process, hope their kid makes it through. Daughters don't usually attend. There are female scribes, the records prove it, but they're rare. Most scribes are men. Most educated people are men. Women mostly learn weaving, pottery, household management. Unless you're born into the priestly class, then maybe you get educated, maybe you become a priestess, maybe you end up running a temple. But for most women, life is about marriage, children, and keeping the household running. Not great, but again, this is 3000 BC. Gender equality won't be invented for another 5,000 years. The head scribe sees you and waves you over. He's older, maybe 50. That's ancient in Sumer. Most people don't make it past 40. He's got the characteristic scribe posture, shoulders slightly hunched from years of bending over tablets. You, can you count? You nod. Everyone in Sumer can count. You have to. Rations are measured. Work is tallied. Beer is counted. If you can't count, you get cheated. Good. Start moving these tablets to the storage room. Carefully, drop one and I'll have you beaten. He's not joking. These tablets represent records, legal documents, contracts, religious texts, temple accounts. They're valuable. More valuable than you are, frankly. You start moving them. Each tablet is about the size of your hand. They're heavy, solid clay. Some are still slightly damp. Fresh records from this morning. Most are dried and hard. A few have been baked in a kiln to make them permanent. The tablets that get baked are the important ones. Legal codes, major contracts, religious texts. The rest just dry naturally. If they break or get damaged, they can be re-wet and recycled. Nothing goes to waste in Sumer. As you carry tablets, you glance at some of the texts. You can't read cuneiform, you're not educated, but you can recognise some symbols, numbers mostly, and your own name, which is basically the only thing most non-scribes can write. One tablet is an account of sheep. How many sheep the temple owns, how many were born this year, how many died, how many were sacrificed, how much wool they produced. Every single sheep is tracked. Another tablet is a contract. Someone borrowed grain from the temple. They have to pay it back after harvest, with interest. If they can't pay, their labour goes to the temple instead. It's all spelled out in careful cuneiform. Another tablet is a school exercise. A student practicing the same sign over and over, getting it wrong, trying again. The teacher's corrections are written at the bottom. Sloppy. Do better. You move tablets for an hour. Storage room to study room to archive, archive to priest's office. It's monotonous, but it's not physically demanding, and you're inside, out of the sun. Through the window you can see the marketplace starting to come alive. Even though it's getting hotter, people need to trade, buy food, sell goods. Life continues despite the heat. The head scribe eventually releases you. That's enough. Go. You head out into the sun and immediately regret every decision that led you here. The heat hits like a physical wall. After an hour in the relative cool of the scribe school, the outside feels like walking into fire. The marketplace is pure chaos. Picture a large open area near the city gate. Now fill it with hundreds of people. Add wooden stalls and reed awnings for shade. Spread goods everywhere. Baskets of grain, hanging bundles of dried fish, clay pots of oil and honey, woven cloth, leather sandals, metal tools, jewellery, herbs, vegetables, live chickens in cages. Now add the noise. Everyone's shouting, vendors calling out their wares, buyers haggling prices, animals making animal sounds, children running around screaming, musicians playing for coins, someone's grinding grain with a stone mill. The scrape and thump of the grinding creates a rhythm under everything else. Add the smells, roasting meat, fresh bread, dried fish, rotting vegetables, sweat, animals, incense from a nearby shrine, leather being tanned, metalwork producing that distinctive hot metal smell. It's sensory overload. You need to buy onions, obviously. Your household is running low, which is basically an emergency because what are you going to eat if you don't have onions? The vegetable seller sees you coming. She's middle-aged, sun-darkened skin, wearing a simple dress and a head covering to protect from the sun. Her stall has onions, leeks, garlic, cucumbers, lettuce, all grown in the fields outside the city. 2 bundles of onions, you say. She names a price. It's too high. You counter with a lower price. She acts offended. You start to walk away. She calls you back. You negotiate. Finally, you agree on a price that's probably closer to fair than either of your opening offers. you pay in barley. Most transactions in Sumer are done through barter or grain. Coins won't be invented for another couple thousand years, so you carry around grain, measure it out, trade it for goods. The seller weighs your barley on a balance scale to make sure you're not cheating her. Transaction complete. Nearby, a metal worker is showing off copper tools. Axes, chisels, knives. Copper is expensive. These tools are for wealthy buyers. You look anyway because they're impressive. Shiny, sharp, well made. The metal worker catches you looking. You want to buy? Can't afford it. He laughs. Nobody can. But they buy anyway. Come back when you have silver. Silver is currency for major transactions, land sales, large contracts, bribes. You've never held silver in your life. You probably never will. Next to the metalworker, a potter is selling clay vessels, jars for storage, cups for drinking, lamps for oil. Pottery is cheaper than metal, more accessible. Everyone needs pots. They crack, they break. You need new ones. A woman is examining a large storage jar, checking for cracks. She finds one, points it out, demands a lower price. The potter argues. She doesn't budge. He eventually agrees, grumbling. This is how the economy works. Small transactions, person to person, face to face. No written receipts for this stuff unless it's a major purchase that needs to be recorded on a clay tablet and witnessed by officials. Near the edge of the market, there's a beer cellar. This is what you really came for. Your household's beer supply is low. The cellar has large ceramic jars of beer covered with cloth to keep flies out. You can smell it from here. Sweet, yeasty, thick. How much for a full jar? She names the price. You don't bother negotiating. Beer prices are pretty standard. Everyone knows what beer costs. You hand over more barley and she fills your jar. You'll carry it home carefully because if you drop it and the beer spills, your family will murder you. While she's filling your jar, you notice a man at the next stall selling something unusual. Shells. Not local shells, exotic ones. Shells from far away. Probably the Persian Gulf coast. Where'd you get those? You ask. Trader brought them from Dilmun, 3 weeks' journey. Beautiful, yes? Dilmun, the island the Sumerians believe they came from originally. Paradise, the home of the gods. It's also a real place you can sail to if you're brave or stupid enough to make the journey. Trade is huge in Sumer. The river valleys don't have much wood, no metals, no stone. Everything has to be imported, so traders travel up and down the rivers to the mountains, to the coast, bringing back timber from Lebanon, copper from Anatolia, shells from the Gulf, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. Yeah, Afghanistan. People are trading goods across thousands of miles in 3000 BC. It's genuinely impressive. You buy your onions and beer and head home before the midday heat gets worse. Too late. It's already worse. The sun's directly overhead, no shadows, no shade except inside buildings. The air shimmers. The streets are almost empty. Anyone with sense is inside. You rush home. The beer jar is getting heavy. Your arms are tired. The onion bundles keep slipping, but you make it. The households in the courtyard, sitting in what little shade exists. Someone's already prepared a midday meal. Bread, dried fish, dates, and now beer, thanks to you. You're a hero. You eat, you drink, you rest. Outside, the city goes quiet. This is the hottest part of the day. Even the birds stop singing. Even the dogs stop moving. Everything just stops and waits for the temperature to drop. You lean against the courtyard wall and close your eyes, just for a moment, just to rest. Your mind drifts, thinking about the scribes and their tablets, the marketplace chaos, the exotic shells from Dilmun, the copper tools you'll never afford, the beer you're drinking right now through a reed straw, thick and sweet and filling. Life in Sumer is hard, no question, but it's also life. People trade, people talk, people create, people survive. They've built cities in a desert, they've invented writing, they've developed agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, they've created art and music and poetry. They've also created massive inequality, brutal working conditions, and a religious system based on fear. So it's not all positive, but they're trying. Humans are always trying. Even 5,000 years ago, even in the brutal heat of Mesopotamia, people were figuring things out. Building, creating, surviving, and honestly, from your comfortable bed right now, with your climate control and your clean water, and your full stomach, and your complete lack of onion-based meals, you can appreciate their effort, even if you wouldn't want to live there. Not even for a day. The heat continues. The afternoon stretches. Time moves slowly when you're trying not to move at all. Eventually, someone suggests going to the river, the public bathing area. It's not far, and it's water, cooler than the air anyway. You go. The river's crowded. Everyone had the same idea. People are wading in, splashing each other, washing off the day's dust and sweat. Kids are playing. Women are washing clothes by beating them against rocks. Men are swimming to the deeper parts. The water's murky, brown with silt. Definitely not clean by modern standards, but it's wet and it's cooler than the air, and right now that's all that matters. You wade in up to your waist. The water feels amazing. The heat finally releases its grip on you. Your body temperature drops. Your breathing slows. You dunk your head under, hold your breath, come up gasping. Better, so much better. You stay in the water for a while, just existing, floating, watching the sky, watching other people do the same thing. This is life in ancient Sumer. Brutal heat followed by brief relief. Hard work followed by simple pleasures. Survival punctuated by moments where you remember why surviving is worth it. The sun starts dropping toward the horizon. The heat breaks. People start leaving the river, heading home for the evening meal. You follow, dripping, cooler, refreshed. Tomorrow you'll be back digging canals, but right now you're okay. And in Sumer, okay is pretty damn good. The next morning, something's different. You can feel it before you're fully awake. There's tension in the air. Voices outside aren't the usual lazy morning conversation. They're urgent, sharp. You get up fast. In the courtyard, your neighbours are gathered. Someone's talking quickly, gesturing. You catch fragments. Scouts reported yesterday. Kish is mobilizing. The Lugal says, "Oh no, war." Let me explain something about Sumer. There are roughly 20 city-states scattered across southern Mesopotamia, all within about 300 square miles. That's tiny. You can see neighbouring cities from your Ziggurats top platform on a clear day. All these cities need the same thing: water. From the same rivers, for the same fields, to feed the same growing populations. You see the problem. When one city builds a canal and diverts water upstream, the cities downstream get less water. Their crops suffer, people go hungry, tensions rise, diplomats fail, and eventually the Lugal calls up the army. The Lugal is different from the Ensi. The Ensi runs the city day to day, manages the temples, oversees the irrigation. He's administrator-in-chief. The Lugal, which literally means big man, is the war leader. When things get dangerous, when the city needs defending or attacking, the Lugal takes over. Originally, the Lugal was temporary, elected during emergencies. When the crisis passed, power returned to the Ensi and the Council of Elders. Democracy, sort of. Collective decision-making. But here's what happened. Wars kept happening. Crises kept emerging. The Lugal kept getting called up. Eventually, some Lugals just didn't give power back. They kept it, made it permanent, made it hereditary, passed it to their sons. That's how you get kings. Your city's Lugal is a guy named Mescalamdug, not the brightest torch in the temple, but he's big and he's mean and he knows how to swing a copper axe. More importantly, he's got the backing of the city's warriors and enough of the priests to legitimize his rule. Word is spreading fast through the city. Kish is preparing an attack. Kish, the city to the north, they've been aggressive lately. Their new king, some guy named Enmabarajesi, has been expanding, conquering smaller cities, building an empire. Now he wants your water. By midday, the whole city knows. The Lugal has called an assembly in the Ziggurat courtyard. Everyone's required to attend. When the Lugal summons, you show up. Period. The courtyard is packed. Thousands of people pressed together in the heat. The Lugal stands on the lower platform of the Ziggurat, elevated enough that everyone can see him. He's wearing armour, bronze breastplate, leather kilt reinforced with metal studs, a copper helmet that gleams in the sun. He's trying to look impressive. It's working. Kish threatens our water. He shouts. His voice carries across the courtyard. They build their canals. They take what belongs to our gods. They starve our children. The crowd murmurs. Angry, scared, both. We will not surrender. We will not beg. We will fight. Cheering. Not everyone, but enough. War means danger, but it also means glory. Loot, slaves, land. For the warriors, anyway. For everyone else, it means terror and possible death. Every able man will serve. Bring your tools, your weapons, your courage. Tomorrow we march. More cheering. The Lugal raises his axe. The copper blade catches the light. The crowd roars. You feel sick. See, here's the thing about Sumerian warfare. It's not professional soldiers fighting other professional soldiers on some distant battlefield. It's farmers and labourers and craftsmen, handed weapons, told to march to the neighbouring city and ordered to kill the farmers and labourers and craftsmen there. The warriors, the actual trained fighters, they're a small group, maybe 100 men in a city of 10,000. They're the Lugal's personal guards, professional, skilled, equipped with the best bronze weapons and armour. Everyone else, you get a wooden spear with a fire-hardened tip, maybe a copper knife if you're lucky, a shield made of woven reeds and leather, and absolutely no training beyond stick the pointy end in the other guy. Odds of survival, not great. That night, the city buzzes with preparation. Families gather in their courtyards, talking in hushed voices. Some people pray to the gods, some sharpen tools, some just sit quietly, processing what's coming. Your family gives you their version of encouragement. Don't die, your mother says. Super helpful. Aim for the stomach, your father adds. Easier target than the head. Can I have your good sandals if you don't come back? Your younger brother asks. Family bonding at its finest. You try to sleep, can't. Obviously, your mind keeps running through scenarios. What if you actually have to fight someone? What if they're bigger than you? What if they're better armed? What if you freeze? What if you run? What if you die? Morning comes whether you're ready or not. The assembly point is outside the city gates. Men are gathering, hundreds of them. Some look eager, most look terrified. A few are clearly drunk, which is honestly a solid strategy. The warriors are already organised. They stand in formation, bronze weapons gleaming, looking professional and deadly. They'll lead the attack. Everyone else will follow and try not to die. The Lugal rides past on a donkey. Yeah, a donkey. Horses haven't been domesticated for warfare yet. That happens later. Right now, if you're wealthy enough to ride instead of walk, you ride a donkey. The Lugal's donkey is decorated with ribbons and bells. It looks ridiculous. Nobody laughs. The Lugal has an axe. A priest performs a blessing, asks Enlil to grant victory, promises sacrifices if the battle goes well, threatens the enemy's gods, which seems unwise, but what do I know about Bronze Age theological trash talk? Then you march. The heat is already building. It's maybe 2 hours past dawn, and you're sweating. The copper knife at your belt feels heavy. The spear in your hand feels inadequate. Your shield, basically a wooden frame with leather stretched over it, feels like it might stop a strong sneeze, but nothing more. The distance to Kish is about 15 miles. That's a full day's march in this heat, carrying weapons and supplies. No one's in formation. It's just a mob of armed men trudging north through the dust. Some guys are singing war songs, boasting about what they'll do to the enemy, talking big. It's definitely helping their courage, possibly making them overconfident. Others walk in silence, eyes down, just putting one foot in front of the other. You're in the silent group. Around noon, the march stops. Heat's too extreme. Everyone collapses in whatever shade they can find. Water's distributed, it's rationed carefully. Beer too. You drink both, trying to rehydrate and calm your nerves simultaneously. A guy next to you is praying. Hands pressed together, eyes closed, lips moving, asking the gods for protection, for survival, for his family to be okay if he doesn't make it back. You start praying too. Can't hurt. The march resumes in late afternoon when the temperature drops slightly. By evening, you're close. You can see Kish in the distance. Walls, buildings, their ziggurat rising against the darkening sky. They know you're coming. They saw the dust cloud miles away. They're ready. The army camps for the night within sight of Kish's walls. Fires are lit. Food is distributed. More prayers happen. The warriors gather separately, planning. The Lugal consults with his commanders. You sit with other conscripts, all of you trying not to think about tomorrow. Someone tells a joke. It's not funny. Everyone laughs anyway. Nervous energy. Someone else shares beer from his personal supply. Pass it around. Take a drink. Pass it on. Simple human connection before possible death. You try to sleep. The ground's hard. The night's cold. Your mind won't stop racing. But eventually, exhaustion wins. You drift off. Dawn comes too fast. The attack begins before the sun's fully up. The warriors charge first, screaming, weapons raised. Everyone else follows because what else are you going to do? The gates of Kish are closed. Defenders line the walls. Arrows start falling. Not many. Archery isn't super developed yet, but enough. A man near you takes an arrow in the shoulder. He goes down screaming. You keep running. The warriors reach the walls first. They've got ladders, siege equipment. They start climbing. Defenders push the ladders away. Men fall, bones break, screaming intensifies. You reach the wall. Someone hands you a ladder. You're climbing before your brain catches up. Don't think. Just move. One rung. Another. A defender appears above you. He's got a rock. He throws it. You duck. The rock hits the guy below you. He falls. The ladder shakes. You hold on. Keep climbing. You reach the top. The defender is there with a spear. He thrusts. You deflect with your shield. The shield splits. The spear grazes your arm. Blood. Pain. You thrust back with your own spear. He dodges. Someone else comes up behind you. Another attacker. Together you push forward. The defender backs up. More attackers come over the wall. The defenders are getting overwhelmed. The gate opens from inside. Your warriors got through somehow. The main force pours in. It's chaos. Complete chaos. Fighting in the streets, smoke from fires, screaming, weapons clashing, people running. You're in a group pushing through a narrow street. Defenders are throwing things from rooftops, rocks, pottery, boiling water. A clay pot shatters next to you, hot water splashing. A defender jumps down from a doorway, knife in hand. He's terrified. You're terrified. You both hesitate. Then training what little you have kicks in. You thrust your spear. He dodges. Not fast enough. The spear catches his side. He gasps, goes down. You stare at him. You just stabbed someone. Actually stabbed a person. He's bleeding, groaning. Someone pushes you forward. Move, keep moving. The fighting continues for hours. Eventually, Kish's defenders realize they're losing. They surrender. The Lugal accepts. The battle ends. Casualties on both sides. Dead men in the streets. Wounded crying for help. Some will survive, many won't. Infection kills more than blades in this era. The Lugal claims victory. Kish's Ensi is forced to kneel, to swear allegiance, to promise water rights, to send tribute, grain, silver, slaves. Your army loots the city, not everything, enough to hurt them, enough to make the point. Grain stores raided, valuable goods taken, people captured for slavery. You don't participate, you find a corner, sit down, look at your hands. There's blood on them, not yours, someone else's. You feel nothing, then everything, then nothing again. This is warfare in ancient Sumer, brutal, close, personal, no glory, just survival and trauma and the desperate hope that next time it's not your city being raided. The march back takes 2 days. The army's slower now, carrying loot, herding prisoners, tending to wounded. You walk in silence. Your arm where the spear grazed has been bandaged. It hurts. It'll scar. Everyone's quiet, even the guys who were boasting before. War looked different in their imagination. You reach your city. Celebrations happen. The Lugal is praised. Sacrifices are made to the gods. Beer flows freely. People cheer. You go home. Your family's relieved you survived. Your mother cries. Your father claps your shoulder. Your brother still wants your sandals, but at least he waited until you got back to ask again. That night, you lie on your reed mat, staring at the ceiling. The scrape on your arm throbs, your muscles ache. Your mind replays the fighting, the defender's face, the blood. Tomorrow you'll go back to the canals, back to normal work. Life continues, but something's changed. You've seen what civilization costs, what it takes to maintain these cities, these canals, this fragile structure of society built on mud bricks and human labour. It's not just work, it's violence, control, power. And you're just trying to survive it. Unlike your soft bed right now, your peaceful room, your lack of copper weapons and city-state conflicts, your complete absence of needing to stab anyone to protect your water rights. Feel grateful yet? You should. Life after the battle settles into routine, because it has to. Your arm heals, slowly. The scar's there now, a reminder you'll carry forever. But the wound closes, you go back to canal work. The city goes back to its daily grind. The loot from Kish gets distributed. Extra grain rations for a few weeks, which is nice. The prisoners get put to work on the hardest jobs. The Lugal gets praised in songs, and life continues. You're working a section of canal near the fields when you see it, the thing that's been changing agriculture for the past few generations, but still blows your mind every time you watch it work. The plough. Before the plough, farming was brutal. You'd take a stick, basically a sharpened branch, and jab it into the soil, make a hole, drop in a seed, cover it, move 6 inches, do it again for an entire field. Your back would be destroyed by noon. The plough changed everything. It's simple, really. A wooden blade attached to a frame. You hitch it to an ox. The ox pulls. The blade cuts through the soil, turning it over, making a furrow. You walk behind, dropping seeds into the furrow. The ox does the hard work. You just guide it. One person with a plough can do what used to take 10 people with sticks. Maybe 20. That means fewer people need to farm, which means more people can do other things. Be scribes, craftsmen, merchants, priests, warriors. The plough created specialized society. The guy working this plough is named Lugal something. Everyone's named Lugal something, or N something, or some variation of god names. Sumerian naming isn't creative. Watch this, he says, grinning. He's clearly proud of his ox and his plough. The ox leans into the harness, muscles straining. The plough blade bites into the earth. The soil turns over, dark and rich. One pass and he's created a furrow that would have taken you an hour to make by hand. Beautiful, right? He says. It is. In a weird agricultural way, it's genuinely beautiful, efficient, elegant, problem-solving at its finest. How long to plough the whole field, you ask? 2 days, maybe 3. Used to take 2 weeks with hand tools. Progress. He continues ploughing. You watch for a bit, then head back to your canal work. But your mind's stuck on the plough, on how one invention can change everything, can free up time, can create new possibilities. The Sumerians are good at this, creating tools, solving problems, figuring things out. Take the wheel, the freaking wheel. You'd think wheels would be for transportation first, right? For moving heavy things. Nope. The first wheeled carts were for religious ceremonies, for carrying statues of gods in processions, for showing off during festivals. Only later did someone think, hey, maybe we could use this for regular stuff too. Now wheels are everywhere, carts for hauling grain, for transporting bricks, for moving goods to market, and of course, for war. The Lugal has war chariots. Well, chariots is generous. They're basically carts with 2 wheels, pulled by donkeys, not horses, donkeys, with a driver and a guy holding a spear. Donkey-powered war machines. It sounds stupid. It kind of is stupid, but it works. You can move faster than infantry. You can charge through enemy lines. You can create chaos and fear until your donkey gets spooked and runs away, which happens more often than the Lugal would like to admit. Someone once joked that the military should call them donkeyry instead of cavalry. That person got beaten for disrespecting the Lugal's army. Worth it, though. The joke was solid. Evening comes. You finish work, head home, clean up as best you can with rationed water. Dinner's the usual. Barley, onions, some dried fish, beer through a straw because it's thick and chunky, and drinking it normally means getting a mouthful of grain sediment. After dinner, you're sitting in the courtyard when a neighbour comes by. He's a craftsman, makes pottery. Good at it too. Got something to show you, he says, excited. He's holding a piece of soap. Yeah, soap. The Sumerians invented soap. It's not like modern soap. No fragrance, no moisturizers, just pure cleaning power. They figured out if you mix animal fat with lye, you get this substance that removes dirt. Actually removes it instead of just smearing it around like water does. Made it this morning, he says proudly, trying to perfect the ratio. He's been experimenting for weeks. Too much lye and it burns your skin. Too little and it doesn't clean. Getting it right requires precision. Try it. You take the soap. It's grey, kind of grainy, smells weird. You rub it on your hands with a bit of water. Foam appears, actual foam. You rinse. Your hands are cleaner than they've been in months. This is wild. Right? I'm going to sell it at the market. People will pay for this. He's probably right. Cleanliness is valued in Sumer, even if it's hard to achieve. The wealthy pay good money for perfumes and oils. Soap fits right in. Your neighbour heads off to show other people his invention. You sit back down, still marvelling at your clean hands. It's the little things, small improvements, incremental progress. That's how civilization works, not giant leaps, just people solving small problems one at a time. The sky's darkening, stars are coming out. You've got some free time before bed, so you head to the small shrine on your street corner. There's going to be a gathering. People meet there sometimes in the evenings to talk, share news, drink beer. When you arrive, a group's already there. Someone's brought a board game. It's the racing game. Players move pieces around a board trying to be first to finish. Dice made from sheep knuckle bones determine how far you move. Gambling's involved, naturally. Small bets, a bit of grain here, a cup of beer there, nothing serious, just entertainment. You watch a few rounds, the dice are loaded, not intentionally, just because knuckle bones aren't perfectly balanced. Everyone knows, everyone accepts it. Part of the game's charm is figuring out which way the dice prefer to land. An older man sits down next to you. He's a teacher at the scribe school. You recognise him from when you were moving tablets. "You know why the dice work the way they do?" he asks. You shake your head. Mathematics, probability. The gods of chance favour certain numbers. He launches into an explanation of the Sumerian number system. This is what educated people do for fun, apparently. Talk about math. "We count by 60s, he says. "Not tens like you might think. 60s. He holds up his hand, points to the segments on his fingers, the joints, the sections between joints. "Count these. On one hand, 12 segments. Use your other hand to track sets of 12. 5 fingers times 12 segments equals 60. You try it. He's right. If you use one hand to point at each segment while using the other hand's fingers to count sets, you get to 60. That's why we divide the day into 24 hours. That's twice 12. Each hour into 60 minutes. Each minute into 60 seconds. A full circle is 360 degrees. That's 6 times 60. Your mind's spinning. You never thought about why time is divided the way it is. Turns out it's just based on counting finger segments 5,000 years ago. The decisions ancient people made casually become permanent structures. Time itself is measured in Sumerian math. Wild. The teacher continues. He's on a roll now, talking about how Sumerian mathematicians can solve complex problems, calculate the area of irregular shapes, figure out volumes of grain storage, predict the flooding patterns of rivers using geometric formulas. "We even know," he says, lowering his voice like he's sharing a secret, "the relationship between the sides of a right triangle." What relationship? The square of the longest side equals the sum of squares of the other two sides. You have no idea what that means. In simpler terms, if you have a triangle with one corner perfectly square, you can predict the exact length of any side if you know the other two. It's useful for construction, for surveying land, for building. He's talking about what will later be called the Pythagorean theorem, named after some Greek guy who won't be born for another 2,000 years, but the Sumerians already know it. They've been using it for generations. Math predates the mathematicians who get credit for it. Another guy joins the conversation. He's an assistant to one of the temple's astronomers. "You want to know what's really impressive?" he says. "We can predict when the moon will disappear." The moon disappears? Sometimes. The shadow of the earth crosses it, makes it dark, terrifies everyone who doesn't know it's coming. But we know. We track the moon's cycle. We calculate when the alignment will happen. We warn people so they don't panic. Lunar eclipses. The Sumerians can predict lunar eclipses. They've been observing the sky for so long, tracking patterns so carefully, they've figured out the cycles. Solar eclipses too, he adds. Those are trickier, but we're getting better. The conversation shifts to the calendar, how it's based on lunar cycles, 12 months of 29 or 30 days, about 354 days total, but that's 11 days short of a solar year, so every few years they add a 13th month to sync it back up. It's a messy system, but it works. The 7-day week is also Sumerian. Each day corresponds to a celestial body: sun day, moon day. The day of Ninurta later becomes Saturn's day. Each culture that inherits this system just renames the days for their own gods, but the structure stays the same. You're sitting here in 3000 BC, listening to educated people casually discuss concepts that will define human civilization for the next 5,000 years. They don't know they're being groundbreaking. To them, it's just solving practical problems. When does the harvest happen? Track the moon. How do we divide labor shifts? Count in 60s. How do we predict disasters? Observe the sky. Simple questions, complex answers, tools and knowledge passed down, refined, improved. Someone breaks out a lyre. Music time. The lyre's a stringed instrument, shaped kind of like a U with strings stretched across. The sound is beautiful, soft and melodic, perfect for evening gatherings. The player starts a song everyone knows. It's about Inanna, the goddess of love and war, about her descent to the underworld. People join in singing. You don't know all the words, but you hum along. Music is huge in Sumer. Drums, flutes, harps, lyres. The wealthy have private musicians. The temple has whole orchestras for ceremonies. Even regular people make music. It's part of life, part of how stories get told and remembered. No written musical notation yet. Everything's memorized, passed down teacher to student. Variations emerge, songs evolve, but the core melodies persist. The beer jar makes another round. You take your turn drinking through the communal straw. The beer's good tonight. Sweet, thick, filling. You can taste the barley and dates used in brewing. Beer brewing is an art in Sumer. The goddess Ninkasi, lady who fills the mouth, oversees it. There's literally a hymn to her that doubles as a brewing recipe. Singers perform it during festivals, describing each step, how to prepare the grain, how to mix it with water and dates, how to ferment it, how to strain it. Religion and practical knowledge intertwined. No hops in the beer, so it's not bitter. More like liquid bread, nutritious enough to count as a meal. Safer than water because the brewing process kills bacteria. Everyone drinks it, kids, adults, elders. It's not about getting drunk, though that happens. It's about hydration and nutrition. The gathering continues into the night. More music, more conversation. Someone tells a story about the Great Flood, how the god Enki warned one man to build a boat, how he loaded it with animals and plants, how everything else drowned, how life started over. It's a story everyone knows, gets told and retold. Details change depending on who's telling it, but the core stays the same. Gods got angry. Flood happened. Humanity survived by being clever and lucky. Eventually, people start drifting home. You do the same, walking through dark streets under brilliant stars. No streetlights, no light pollution, just starlight and the occasional oil lamp in a window. Back home, your family's already asleep. You find your spot on the reed mat. Lie down. The familiar ridges press into your back. The air's cool now, almost cold. You pull a wool blanket over yourself. Today you saw a plough making farming easier, soap making washing possible, dice and games making evenings fun. You heard about mathematics that will outlast empires, about astronomy that maps the cosmos, about music and stories that preserve culture. The Sumerians aren't just surviving, they're creating, inventing, building knowledge that will echo through millennia. And you're just a regular person, a canal digger, someone who got conscripted for war and lived to tell about it, someone who drinks beer through a straw and sleeps on a reed mat and works in brutal heat. But you're part of it, this grand experiment called civilization, where people come together, solve problems, create tools, share knowledge, where innovation happens not in isolation but in communities, where one person's clever solution becomes everyone's standard practice. It's messy, violent sometimes, unfair often, but it's also genuinely impressive. Unlike your modern bed, your climate control, your instant access to all human knowledge through a device in your pocket, your complete lack of needing to count finger segments to do math. You've got it easier. Way easier. The stars outside are the same stars the Sumerians mapped. The math they invented still structures your day. The wheel they designed still moves your stuff. The beer they brewed still gets consumed at gatherings. 5,000 years later, their innovations persist. That's worth something. You close your eyes. Sleep comes easier tonight. Tomorrow's just canal work. Normal, regular, non-violent canal work. You can handle that. The sounds of the city fade, distant voices, a dog barking, the wind moving through reed walls, peace, brief, temporary, but real. You'll take it. The next few weeks pass without major incidents. Canal work, market trips, evening gatherings, the rhythm of Sumerian life. Then, one morning, the Ensi makes an announcement. There's going to be a trial. A public trial in the Ziggurat courtyard. Everyone's encouraged to attend. Someone stole grain from the temple storehouse, got caught. Now they're facing justice. Sumerian justice, which is, let's call it, straightforward. The trial happens at midday, because apparently the best time to render judgment is when it's 115 degrees, and everyone's miserable. The courtyard's packed. Trials are entertainment. Better than nothing to do. Plus, there's always the chance someone gets executed, which, grim as it sounds, people find compelling. The accused is brought forward, a young guy, maybe 20, skinny, scared. His hands are bound with rope. Guards flank him. The Ensi sits on a raised platform. He's wearing his official robes, the fancy ones with the fringe and embroidery. Next to him are the Council of Elders, respected older men who help make decisions, and a scribe to record everything on a clay tablet. The accusation is read aloud. The guy stole 3 sacks of barley from the temple. That's a lot, enough to feed a family for a month. The accused doesn't deny it, can't, really. He was caught literally carrying the grain out of the storehouse. Why did you do it? The Ensi asks. My family was starving. The rations weren't enough. My children were crying from hunger. True or not, it doesn't matter. Theft is theft. The law is clear. Here's the thing about Sumerian law codes. They're written down, carved in stone, public. Everyone can see them. Well, everyone who can read, which isn't many people. But the point stands, the laws exist. They're not just whatever the ruler feels like that day. The laws cover everything. Theft, murder, assault, property disputes, divorce, inheritance, business contracts, even stuff like, if your ox gores someone's ox, here's what you owe them. Super specific. The punishments are equally specific and harsh, really harsh. For stealing temple grain, the punishment is mutilation. They cut off your hand. The hand that stole seems symbolic to them, seems horrifying to everyone else. The guy starts begging, pleading. His family needs him. He can work. He can repay the grain. Please, mercy. The Council of Elders confers, whispers. The Ensi listens. Then he announces the verdict. Guilty. The punishment is 10 years of temple service. Wait, what? Instead of cutting off his hand, they're making him a temple slave. He'll work off the debt, 10 years of labour. His family will receive minimal rations during that time. It's harsh but not mutilating, the crowd murmurs. Some people seem disappointed. No blood today. The guy's led away. Relief and despair mixed on his face. He gets to keep his hand. He loses his freedom for a decade. Sumerian justice is weird. Sometimes they're brutal, cutting off hands, gouging out eyes, executing people for relatively minor crimes. Other times they're almost reasonable. It depends on the Ensi, the specific law, the circumstances, whether the gods seem angry that day. Consistency is not their strong point. You head home after the trial. The sun's brutal. The streets are baking. Your thoughts keep circling back to the trial. How thin the line is between survival and punishment. How easily you could have been that guy, desperate, starving, making a bad choice. That night there's another ceremony at the Ziggurat. This one's different. It's for the scribes who've completed their training. Graduation, basically. The Ziggurat is lit with oil lamps. Dozens of them. The flames flicker in the evening breeze. It's actually beautiful. The stepped pyramid glowing against the dark sky. Stars above, warm light below. The ceremony happens on the second platform. The graduating scribes stand in a line, nervous and proud. They're wearing clean robes. Their hair is oiled and styled. This is their big moment. The head priest gives a speech about the importance of writing, how scribes preserve knowledge, record history, communicate with the gods through written prayers, manage the temple's wealth, serve the city. One by one, the new scribes are called forward. Each receives a copper stylus, their official tool, the symbol of their profession. They'll use it to write on clay tablets for the rest of their working lives. Each scribe has to demonstrate their skill. They're given a fresh clay tablet and asked to write a passage, something religious, usually, a hymn to Inanna or a prayer to Enlil. You watch one kid write. His hand is steady. The cuneiform signs are clean and precise. Years of practice show. The head priest examines his work, nods approval. The kid beams. That kid will never dig a canal, never carry bricks, never fight in a war probably. He'll sit in cool rooms, writing on tablets, managing accounts. His life just got exponentially better. Education is the only real path to upward mobility in Sumer. If you're born poor and stay uneducated, you die poor. But if you can somehow get your kid into scribe school, if they can survive the beatings and memorize the thousands of signs, they might escape the cycle. Might. After the ceremony, people linger. There's food, the temple's providing it as celebration. Bread, dates, roasted lamb, and beer. Obviously beer. The goddess Ninkasi would be offended if there was a celebration without beer. You grab some food and find a spot to sit. The night air is cool. Finally. After the brutal day heat, the temperature's dropped to almost comfortable. A group of musicians is playing near one of the shrines, drums and lyres. The rhythm is hypnotic. Some people start dancing. Nothing formal, just moving to the beat. It's joyful, simple, human. You notice families everywhere. Parents with children, grandparents, extended relatives. Sumerian families are tight units, multiple generations living together, everyone supporting everyone else because you have to. Survival requires cooperation. A kid runs past you, laughing. His mother chases him, pretending to be angry, but clearly amused. The kid dodges around people, headed for the musicians. He wants to see the drums up close. His mother catches him, picks him up. He squeals with delight. She spins him around. For a moment, they're just a mother and son, happy, playing, existing outside the grind of daily survival. These moments matter. They're what make the rest of it bearable. You think about your own family. Your parents are getting older. Your father's back is wrecked from decades of labour. Your mother's hands are gnarled from weaving and grinding grain. They won't live much longer, probably. Most people don't make it past 50 in Sumer. Disease, injury, simple wear and tear from hard living. It all adds up. But they're here now. They're alive. You're alive. That's something. The celebration continues into the night. Eventually, you head home, through dark streets, past shrines with their perpetual oil lamps, past houses where families are settling in for sleep. Your house is quiet when you arrive. Everyone's in the courtyard. Your father's repairing a tool by lamplight. Your mother's weaving. Your siblings are playing a quiet game with pebbles. Normal, peaceful, safe. You sit with them. No one speaks much. Comfortable silence, the kind that happens when people know each other well enough that conversation is optional. Your mother finishes her weaving, sets it aside. "Did you eat?" she asks. "At the ceremony, temple food." She nods, satisfied. Making sure you're fed is her primary concern. Always has been. Your father looks up from his tool repair. "The new scribes?" "Yeah, 7 of them. They looked proud. Expensive education. Worth it, though. If they survive it. I knew a boy once, sent to scribe school. Beatings broke him. He came home, never spoke right again. Your mother shoots him a look. Don't tell sad stories. It's true. Still, not tonight." They fall silent. The old married rhythm. She corrects him. He accepts it. Life continues. Your younger sister looks up from the pebble game. "Tell us about the flood." Again, you've heard it 100 times. Tell it anyway. So you tell the flood story, the one everyone knows, how the gods got angry at humanity's noise, how Enki warned one man, Ziusudra in the Sumerian version, to build a boat, how the flood came and drowned the world, how Ziusudra saved animals and seeds and survived, how the gods realized they needed humanity for sacrifices and decided not to wipe everyone out again. It's a good story, familiar, comforting, the kind of story that's been told for generations and will be told for generations more. Long after Sumer falls, this story will persist. Different cultures will claim it, change the names, add details, but the core will remain. A flood, a boat, a survivor, a new beginning. Your sister falls asleep halfway through. Common. She just wanted the comfort of the story, not the ending. One by one, family members head to their sleeping spots, your parents to their small room, your siblings to their mats in the courtyard, you to yours. The routine of preparing for sleep is simple. Check your water jar, make sure there's enough for the night if someone gets thirsty. Check the door, make sure it's secured. Say a quick prayer to the household gods. Small clay figurines in a niche by the entrance. No elaborate bedtime ritual. No brushing teeth. That's not a thing yet. No changing into special sleeping clothes. You sleep in what you wore all day, maybe removing your belt and outer layer if it's hot. You lie down on your reed mat. The ridges press into your back. Familiar discomfort. The sounds of the city at night filter through. Dogs barking in the distance, a baby crying somewhere, voices from a nearby house, the wind rattling the reed walls. Night in Sumer can be scary. No streetlights, no police patrols, just darkness and whatever moves in it. Thieves, wild animals that sometimes wander in from the desert, rats, scorpions, snakes. People lock their doors, keep weapons close, hope for the best. The wealthy have it easier. They can afford guards, sturdy doors with metal reinforcement, multiple rooms where they can retreat if there's trouble. The poor just have to trust in the gods and their neighbours. You think about the temple slave from the trial. He's probably in a cell right now. Stone walls, a locked door, 10 years ahead of him. His kids growing up without a father. His wife managing alone. One bad decision, one desperate act. A lifetime of consequences. The unfairness of it gnaws at you. But what can you do? The laws are written. The NC enforces them. The gods approve. The system exists, and you're just one person within it. You try to sleep, the temperature's dropping fast. You pull your wool blanket closer. The scratchy fabric provides warmth, if not comfort. Outside, something howls. Could be a dog, could be a jackal from the desert. Hard to tell. The sound is mournful, lonely. Your mind drifts, thinking about the day, the trial, the ceremony, the new scribes with their futures secured, the families laughing together, the music, the food, the simple moments of joy punctuating the difficulty. This is life. not perfect, often unfair, sometimes brutal, but also containing beauty, connection, community, progress, hope. The Sumerians have created something here, a system of laws, even if they're harsh, a system of education, even if it's brutal, a system of religion that provides structure and meaning, a system of agriculture that feeds thousands, a system of government that mostly works. It's not ideal. You wouldn't choose it, but it's something. It's civilization in its earliest form, messy and imperfect and trying. Your breathing slows. Sleep comes closer. The sounds of the night fade. Tomorrow will be another day. More canal work, more heat, more survival, but also more moments of connection, more small joys, more evidence that humans can work together, create together, live together, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Your eyes close, the reed mat beneath you, the wool blanket above you, your family sleeping nearby, the city walls keeping most dangers out, the stars wheeling overhead in their predictable patterns. Safe enough for tonight, and in ancient Sumer, safe enough is all you really get. Unlike your actual bed, your soft mattress, your locked doors with actual police you can call, your climate control and your refrigerator full of food and your complete lack of fear about scorpions in your sleeping area, you've got it so much better. Remember that when you're complaining about your Wi-Fi being slow or your coffee being slightly wrong, the Sumerians would trade places with you in a heartbeat, every single one of them. The darkness deepens, sleep takes over, the city quiets, the night passes, and somewhere on clay tablets that will survive for thousands of years, scribes are recording today's events, the trial, the ceremony, the grain accounts, the astronomical observations, the prayers, writing down civilization, preserving it, passing it forward to us. 5,000 years later, still reading their words, still using their inventions, still counting in their number system, still telling their stories. They survive through what they created, and you're part of that continuity, from their clay tablets to your screen, from their canals to your plumbing, from their struggles to your comfort, connected. Things change, not overnight, but over years, decades. You notice it gradually, the way power shifts, the way cities rise and fall, the way the world you knew stops being the world that exists. It starts with Akkad. The Akkadians live north of Sumer, different language, different customs, but close enough that there's been mixing for generations, trade, marriages, cultural exchange. You've known Akkadian people your whole life. They're not foreign exactly, more like cousins you don't particularly like, but can't avoid at family gatherings. Then this guy Sargon shows up and everything goes sideways. The story of Sargon is wild, even by ancient standards. According to the legends, and yeah, some of this is probably made up, his mother was a priestess, high-ranking temple official. She got pregnant, which was a problem because priestesses weren't supposed to do that. So she put baby Sargon in a reed basket, sealed it with bitumen, set it adrift on the Euphrates River. Sound familiar? Yeah, that basket baby in the river story shows up a lot. Moses does it later. It's almost like it's a template for this person is destined for greatness origin stories. Anyway, a gardener finds the basket, raises Sargon. The kid grows up, ends up working at the court of Kish as a cupbearer. Basically the guy who serves the king his drinks. Not glamorous, but it gets you close to power. Then Sargon overthrows the king. Just takes over, seizes power, crowns himself, and instead of staying in Kish, he builds a new capital city, names it Akkad, starts conquering, and he's good at it, really good. Within a few decades, Sargon controls everything, all the Sumerian city-states, your city included. He doesn't destroy them, that would be wasteful. He just makes them swear loyalty, pay tribute, accept Akkadian governors. Your Ensi is still in charge, technically, but there's an Akkadian official standing behind him now, making sure decisions align with Sargon's interests. Your grain surplus, part of it goes to Akkad now. Your soldiers, they can be called up to fight in Sargon's wars. Your autonomy? Gone. This is what empire looks like. Sargon doesn't stop with Sumer. He pushes west into Syria, destroys the powerful kingdom of Ebla, pushes east into Elam, captures their capital Susa. His domain stretches from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea, from the Zagros Mountains to the edges of Anatolia. It's the first known empire in human history. Multiple regions, multiple cultures, multiple languages, all under one ruler. Sargon appoints governors, stations garrisons of troops in conquered territories, sets up a postal system so messages can travel quickly across his empire, creates trade routes, standardizes weights and measures, builds roads. It's organized, efficient, impressive. It's also brutal. Cities that resist get razed. Populations that rebel get enslaved. Sargon doesn't mess around. The message is clear: submit or die. Most people submit. Your city throws a feast when Sargon visits. The Lugal and Ensi bow, kiss his feet, offer gifts, grain, silver, crafted goods. Sargon accepts graciously, gives a speech about unity and prosperity. Everyone applauds. Behind the smiles, there's fear. This man controls armies, controls trade, controls food distribution. Anger him and your city starves. So you smile, you cheer, you pretend this is fine. Sargon dies eventually. Old age. His empire passes to his sons, then to his grandson Naram-Sin. And Naram-Sin is somehow even more ambitious. He declares himself a living god, not a representative of the gods, not blessed by the gods, an actual god. Puts a horned crown on his head, the symbol of divinity, and demands worship. The priests are horrified. This is blasphemy. The gods will be furious. Divine punishment is coming. Naram-Sin doesn't care. He crushes rebellions in Sumer and Syria, adopts the title King of the Four Corners of the World, builds monuments to himself, has his victories carved in stone. The Akkadian Empire reaches its peak under him. Trade flourishes, art and architecture bloom, cities grow wealthy. If you're part of the system, if you benefit from the stability and trade networks, life improves, but empires don't last. The first sign of trouble comes from the east. Raiders from the Zagros Mountains. Tribal people, the Akkadians, call Gutians. They're mountain dwellers, herders, warriors, and they're hungry. At first, it's just raids, quick strikes on border settlements. Steal some grain, some livestock, disappear back into the mountains. Annoying, but manageable. Then the raids get bigger, bolder. Whole villages get hit. Caravans get attacked. Trade routes become dangerous. The Akkadian army responds, sends expeditions into the mountains. It goes badly. The Gutians know the terrain. They ambush, they retreat, they regroup. The Akkadians can't pin them down. Around 2200 BC, everything falls apart. A Gutian leader named Eridu brings a huge force out of the mountains. Not just raiders now, an army. They meet the Akkadian forces in open battle and win. Actually win. The Akkadians retreat. Eridu captures Nippur, the sacred city, the religious heart of Sumer. It's a catastrophe. He has his victory carved into stone right there in Nippur, a permanent reminder that the Akkadians lost. The empire starts crumbling. Governors in distant provinces stop sending tribute. Local rulers declare independence. The centre can't hold. The Gutians keep pushing. They take more cities, more territory. The last Akkadian king tries to fight back, but it's too late. After his death, the Gutians launch a full invasion. They sweep through Mesopotamia like a flood, and they have no idea how to run it. Here's the problem. The Gutians are mountain people. They know mountains. They know herding animals in high pastures. They don't know irrigation agriculture. They don't understand canal systems. They don't grasp the delicate balance required to farm in a river valley. So the canals start failing. Nobody's organising maintenance. Nobody's clearing silt. Nobody's repairing breached dikes. The water flow becomes erratic. Some fields flood, others dry out. Crops fail. Food shortages begin, then famines. People start dying, not from violence, from starvation, from disease that follows starvation. The economy collapses, trade stops, craftsmen can't get materials, merchants can't travel safely, cities that thrived on commerce shrivel. You watch your city deteriorate. The marketplace gets smaller, fewer goods, higher prices. The temple cuts rations, people get desperate, theft increases, violence increases. The Gutians don't know what to do. They try to rule, but they don't understand the systems they've inherited. They appoint leaders who don't know irrigation. They collect tribute without understanding it starves the cities. They break things they don't know how to fix. Mesopotamia enters what later gets called its first dark age. Cities are abandoned, just left empty. People flee to wherever they think they can survive. Some head to the marshes in the far south where traditional Sumerian life continues. Some head north, some just die. Your city shrinks. Whole neighborhoods empty out. Houses crumble. The great ziggurat starts to deteriorate. Nobody's maintaining it. The mud bricks, exposed to rain and sun without constant repair, begin to erode. The temple struggles, fewer offerings, fewer priests. The elaborate ceremonies become simpler, then stop altogether. The gods aren't being fed properly, which means the gods are angry. More disasters follow, or people interpret disasters as divine anger, hard to tell which. Droughts, locust swarms, disease outbreaks, each one hits harder because the infrastructure is failing. The Gutians face resistance. The Akkadians who remain fight back. The Elamites to the east push in. Sumerians in the south refuse to submit. But the Gutians hold on, barely, through sheer force and the fact that nobody else can organise enough to drive them out. For over a century, this chaos continues. More than 100 years of Mesopotamia being broken, fractured, suffering. You live through it. Everyone lives through it who doesn't die, which is a lot of people. The population drops. Estimates suggest it falls by more than half. That's how many die or flee. You get older. Your parents die, not violently, just worn out. Your siblings scatter. One dies from disease. One moves to the marshes. One you just lose track of. You survive by being flexible. You work whatever jobs exist. Sometimes canal maintenance when the Gutians remember it matters. Sometimes farming. Sometimes just scavenging in abandoned houses for anything useful. The social hierarchy collapses. The old distinctions between classes blur. Everyone's just trying to survive. The wealthy lose their wealth. The educated lose their status. Scribes can't find work. Nobody's paying for record keeping anymore. You see tablets being destroyed, used as building material, crushed up for temper in mud bricks, thousands of years of recorded history ground into dust. It's heartbreaking, but also practical. You need bricks more than you need ancient accounts of sheep transactions. The one bright spot is Uruk, down south, far from the Gutian strongholds. The city maintains some independence, keeps its traditions. A leader named Utu Hengal rises there. He starts organizing resistance. It takes time, years. But slowly he builds a coalition, gets other southern cities on board, raises an army, trains them, arms them. Around 2120 BC, Utu-Hengal marches north. He meets the Gutians in battle and wins. Actually wins. The Gutians break, retreat. Utu-Hengal pursues, drives them out of Mesopotamia, back into their mountains. The occupation ends. The whole region celebrates. It's over. The Dark Age is ending. Mesopotamia is free. You're older now. Your hair's grey. Your back's wrecked from decades of labour. You've survived wars, invasions, famines, chaos. You're still here. Utu-Hengal enters your city as a liberator. People line the streets, cheering, crying, grateful. The Ziggurat courtyard fills for a ceremony, prayers of thanksgiving, sacrifices to the gods, music and feasting. It feels like rebirth, like Mesopotamia gets a second chance. Utu-Hengal doesn't last long. He dies young, drowns in a canal accident apparently. But his successor, a guy named Ur-Nammu, continues the work. Ur-Nammu founds what becomes known as the Third Dynasty of Ur. He reunifies Sumer and Akkad, launches a massive rebuilding campaign. The canals get repaired, the irrigation systems restored, cities are rebuilt. The Ziggurat in Ur, the great stepped pyramid dedicated to the moon god Nana, rises again. You watch your city come back to life. The marketplace fills with goods again. Trade resumes. The temple recruits new priests. Ceremonies restart. The government gets reorganized. Provinces with appointed officials. A clever tax system called Bala, where each province contributes goods for just 1 month per year. It spreads the burden, makes it manageable. Sumerian becomes the official language again. Not for speaking, people speak Akkadian now in daily life, but for administration, religion, literature, Sumerian gets revived as a sacred language. This is when the Sumerian king list gets compiled, that famous document listing all the rulers from mythical times to the present. It's propaganda, really, linking the new dynasty to ancient legitimacy, but it works. It gives people continuity, connection to the past. Things improve for a while. But underneath, problems are building. The centralised bureaucracy that worked great under strong rulers becomes bloated and corrupt under weaker ones. Officials skim off the top. Favours get sold. Justice becomes optional if you can't afford bribes. The north, mostly Akkadian-speaking, grows resentful of being ruled from the Sumerian south. Tensions simmer. Worse, the environment is failing. Centuries of irrigation without proper drainage have caused salt to build up in the soil. Salinization. The crops grown in salty soil produce less. Yields drop. Food becomes scarce again. Some scholars think this is what really kills southern Mesopotamia. Not war, not invasion. Salt, too much irrigation, too little drainage, the land itself giving out. New threats emerge. From the west, the Amorites, nomadic tribes pushing into Mesopotamia. From the east, the Elamites again, seeing weakness and opportunity. The last king of the Third Dynasty, Ibbi-Sin, tries to hold it together, but he's losing control. The Amorites penetrate deeper, trade networks collapse, cities starve. In 2004 BC, the Elamites attack. They capture Ur, sack it, burn it, take Ibbi-Sin prisoner. The Third Dynasty ends. A poem survives from this time, The Lament for Ur. It's devastating, describes the gods abandoning the city, the walls being breached, the temple being destroyed, mothers fleeing with children, bodies in the streets. On its lofty city gates where walks were taken, dead bodies were lying about. On its boulevards where festivals were celebrated, heads lay scattered. In all its streets where walks were taken, dead bodies were lying about. The era of Sumerian statehood ends. Mesopotamia splinters into smaller kingdoms, many ruled by Amorite dynasties. Power shifts north to cities like Babylon. Sumerian stops being spoken in daily life. It survives only in temples and schools, a sacred language for rituals and scholarship, like Latin in medieval Europe. But Sumerian religion, literature, mathematics, science, all of it gets absorbed by the cultures that follow. The Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, they inherit Sumerian knowledge, build on it, preserve it, pass it forward. Sumer dies as a political entity, but its legacy survives. You won't see the end. You die before 2004 BC. Old age, surrounded by family in a rebuilt house in a restored city. You die thinking civilization survived, that the Dark Age was an aberration, that Sumer will last forever. You're wrong, but you die happy. And in ancient Sumer, dying happy is an achievement. Unlike your warm bed right now, your stable government, your functioning infrastructure, your complete lack of dealing with mountain invaders who don't understand irrigation. You've got it so good you can't even imagine the alternative. The Sumerians lived the alternative. For over a century they lived through civilization collapsing, through systems failing, through knowledge being lost, and they rebuilt. They tried, they survived as long as they could. That's worth something. That resilience, that determination to continue despite everything. They didn't quit, they kept going right up until the very end. And what they created, the writing, the math, the inventions, the stories, outlasted them by thousands of years, outlasted them all the way to you, reading their words, using their tools, living in a world they helped build, connected across 5,000 years. So Sumer ends, not with a bang, more like a slow fade. After 2004 BC, there's no Sumerian state anymore, no Sumerian kings. The language stops being spoken on the streets, the culture gets absorbed into the broader Mesopotamian world. But here's the wild part. Sumer doesn't really die, it just transforms. The Babylonians take over. They're Amorites who've been living in Mesopotamia long enough to pick up the local customs. Their greatest king, Hammurabi, rules around 1750 BC. You've probably heard of him. The law code guy, Hammurabi's famous code of laws. It's basically Sumerian law with updates. The Sumerians had legal codes first, written down, public. Hammurabi just refined the system, made it more comprehensive, carved it on a giant stone pillar so everyone could see. Well, everyone who could read Akkadian, which wasn't many people, but the principle mattered. The laws themselves sound familiar if you know Sumerian codes. Punishments for theft, rules about property, regulations for business, standards for medical practice. If a surgeon operates and the patient dies, the surgeon loses his hand. Harsh, but specific. That's Sumerian influence. That idea that law should be written, public, consistent, that justice shouldn't just be whatever the king feels like that day. The Babylonians also keep the Sumerian number system, base 60. They use it for everything: astronomy, mathematics, commerce. The same finger-counting method Sumerians developed becomes the standard across Mesopotamia for centuries. They keep Sumerian literature too. The Epic of Gilgamesh, probably the most famous story from ancient Mesopotamia, is originally Sumerian. Later versions get written in Akkadian, expanded, polished. But the core? Sumerian, a king of Uruk searching for immortality, facing his mortality, learning to accept death. It's beautiful, sad, deeply human, and it survives because scribes kept copying it, generation after generation, preserving it even after Sumerian stopped being spoken. The Assyrians come next, brutal warriors from the north. They build an empire that makes Sargons look small. They conquer Egypt, Anatolia, the Levant. They're famous for their cruelty. They brag about it in their inscriptions, flaying enemies alive, impaling them on stakes. Mass deportations. But you know what they also do? They collect Sumerian texts. King Ashurbanipal of Assyria, around 650 BC, builds a massive library in Nineveh. He sends scribes across Mesopotamia to find and copy ancient texts, Sumerian literature, scientific treatises, medical knowledge, mathematical tablets, astronomical observations. He wants to preserve everything. And he does. His library contains thousands of tablets. When archaeologists excavated Nineveh in the 1800s, they found it all, still there, still readable, after 2,600 years. That's how we know so much about the Sumerians. Because an Assyrian king, 1,500 years after Sumer fell, decided their knowledge was worth saving. The Persians conquer Mesopotamia in 539 BC. They keep the cuneiform writing system. They keep the administrative methods. They keep the mathematical and astronomical traditions. The Greeks come next, following Alexander the Great in 330 BC. They're fascinated by Mesopotamian astronomy. They learn from Babylonian star charts. They adopt the Sumerian division of circles into 360 degrees. They take the sexagesimal system for measuring time and angles. The Romans inherit it from the Greeks. Medieval scholars inherit it from the Romans. And now, here you are, 5,000 years after Sumer, still dividing hours into 60 minutes and minutes into 60 seconds because some ancient Mesopotamians liked counting on their finger segments. Wild, right? The wheel, still using it. The plough, modern farming equipment is just fancy ploughs. Beer, still drinking it, though now with hops. Soap, still washing with it. Writing, you're literally reading Sumerian legacy right now. Even the idea of cities, of civilization itself, of people living together in large numbers, specializing in different jobs, creating art and literature and science, that's Sumerian. They did it first. They figured out how to make it work. Not perfectly. They had slavery, brutal wars, massive inequality, environmental destruction from over-irrigation, a religious system based on fear, leaders who abused power, but they also had poetry, music, mathematics, astronomy, law codes, schools, libraries, public ceremonies, community gatherings, families who loved each other, people who created beautiful things, thinkers who asked big questions. They were human, fully, completely human, with all the good and bad that implies. And you're connected to them through the tools they invented, the knowledge they discovered, the systems they created, the stories they told. When you check the time on your phone, 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours, you're using Sumerian math. When you read anything, books, texts, signs, you're using a descendant of their cuneiform. When you follow laws, attend school, go to work at a specialized job, live in a city, you're participating in structures they pioneered. When you look at the stars and know their patterns, when you calculate areas and volumes, when you drink beer at a gathering, you're echoing Sumerian practices. They're not gone, not really. They're just transformed, absorbed, integrated into everything that came after. You, lying in your comfortable bed right now, are part of that continuity, part of the long chain of human civilization that started in southern Mesopotamia 6,000 years ago. Think about the distance between you and them. They slept on reed mats that left ridges in their backs. You sleep on a mattress engineered for comfort. They rationed water carefully, drank from clay jars, worried constantly about supply. You have unlimited clean water from a tap. They ate barley and onions every day, with occasional fish or dates if they were lucky. You have a refrigerator full of options from around the world. They worked in 120-degree heat with no protection. You have climate control. They faced diseases with no understanding of germs, no antibiotics, no modern medicine. A cut could kill you. Childbirth was a death sentence for many women. You have hospitals, doctors, vaccines. They lived under the constant threat of war, invasion, starvation, divine punishment. You have stability, security, safety nets. They died young. Average life expectancy maybe 30 or 40 years if you were lucky. You'll probably live twice that long. The gap between their daily reality and yours is enormous, staggering, almost incomprehensible, and yet they survived. They created, they built, they thought, they loved, they tried. In the face of brutal conditions, they made beauty. In the face of uncertainty, they made knowledge. In the face of mortality, they made things that would outlast them. The Ziggurat of still stands, eroded, damaged, but there. You can visit it. You can climb the same steps Sumerian priests climbed 4,000 years ago. The tablets survive, hundreds of thousands of them, in museums, in collections, being studied, translated, revealing more about Sumerian life every year. The innovations persist, the ideas continue, the legacy lives. They succeeded, not in the way they imagined. They thought their cities would last forever, that their gods would always be worshipped, that Sumer would endure. But they succeeded in a deeper way. They contributed to the great human project, the ongoing effort to understand the world, to create meaning, to build something larger than individual lives. Every scribe who carefully pressed cuneiform into clay, every farmer who improved irrigation techniques, every mathematician who solved a new problem, every musician who composed a song, every parent who taught their child, every person who got up each morning and tried to make their corner of the world a little better, they all contributed, they all mattered, their efforts accumulated into civilization. And that continues, through you, through everyone alive now, taking what came before, adding to it, passing it forward. You're not separate from the Sumerians, you're downstream from them, connected by an unbroken chain of human effort spanning millennia. So when you feel stressed about your problems, your work, your relationships, your struggles, remember the Sumerians. They dealt with so much worse, and they kept going. When you feel grateful for your comforts, your bed, your food, your safety, remember the Sumerians. They would be amazed by what you have, literally amazed. You live like their kings couldn't even imagine. When you feel small and insignificant, remember the Sumerians. Individual people whose names we'll never know, whose lives seemed ordinary to them, contributed to something vast and enduring. You're part of that too. Your life matters. Your efforts contribute. Your existence is part of the ongoing human story. The Sumerians started something. You're continuing it. Others will follow you. The chain continues. So rest now in your comfortable bed, your safe room, your peaceful night. Feel the mattress beneath you, soft, supportive, nothing like a reed mat. Feel the blanket, warm, clean, nothing like scratchy wool. Feel the security, the walls, the locks, the absence of threats. Breathe deeply. Clean air, controlled temperature, no dust storms, no searing heat. Your stomach's full, your thirst is quenched, your body's safe, your future's relatively secure. You're okay, more than okay. You're blessed with comforts the Sumerians couldn't conceive of. And somewhere, across the vast distance of time, maybe they'd be happy about that. Happy that humanity got here, that their efforts and sacrifices contributed to a world where people sleep safely, eat well, live long. Maybe they'd be proud of what we built on their foundation, of how far we've come, or maybe they'd just want a soft mattress and a cold drink. Hard to say. Either way, you're here now, safe, comfortable, connected to them through the long chain of human civilization. Rest well, sleep deeply, and maybe tomorrow, when you use their math or benefit from their innovations, think of them kindly. The Sumerians, the first civilization, the ones who started this whole wild journey. They did their part. Now close your eyes and rest in the world their efforts helped create.